And a very happy Wednesday to you at 12:07 in the West. It's the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wang's in Culver City.
John, this morning there was a groundbreaking ceremony in downtown Los Angeles for the revitalization of the convention center that's still going to be in a bad neighborhood. Curran Price had to have an ambulance come because he had a medical event, and Karen Bass showed us that she really is the biggest D-dropper of all time.
Thank you, everyone, and I will be so excited to come back here in a few years when the world comes.
What happened to the D?
Thank you, everyone, and I will be so excited to come back here in a few years when the world comes.
There's no D's in Los Angeles.
Nope. If you want to hear the phrase, what happened to the D, you either have to see Karen Bass give a speech or you have to see a transgendered contestant in Miss Universe.
Thank you, everyone, and I will be so excited to come back here in a few years when the world comes.
What are you going to do? What's the deal with Curran Price, too? Was that a legitimate medical issue, or was it Fred Sanford saying the big one was coming?
Well, it could very well be that the stress might be actually getting to him because his trial starts in a month.
Did he call out to Elizabeth?
Could also be that he wants to, in a very public way, get sympathy from his potential jury pool in his trial.
Yeah, there's nothing legitimate about what happened there.
I mean, it's the oldest trick in the book, is when you're on trial, you want to seem as frail as possible. That's why Bill Cosby wanted everyone to know he was blind.
You know, I remember back when I was in junior high and high school, and every Friday we would have to run the mile on the track. And if you had to run the mile on the track, and it happened to be very hot, as it gets in Southern California in the middle of summer, don't forget, we were on the track system, not traditional school year. My friends, and occasionally me, would always come up with some kind of injury that prevented us from running that mile. And a friend of mine, who actually took it to an extreme degree, was somehow able to get his hands on a neck brace that did not belong to him. And he was able to put the neck brace on at certain times, like he was in a car accident. And he would put the neck brace on before PE and say, oh, I can't run the mile. I got a problem with my neck. Someone rear-ended me on the way to school today, and, you know, this is what we ended up with. I don't know what to tell you. And then he'd get out of running the mile, and then as soon as the bell rang, the neck brace came off. It's like that episode of Married with Children when Al Bundy was suing for $1 gazillion. Maybe that's what Curran Price is doing.
What, he's going to sue the city for injuries that he had, so he'd be suing himself?
No, I think what he's doing is I think that he is faking the illness so that the judge will say, you know, he's an old man. He has health problems. Why prosecute him? Let's just let him stay at home.
Oh, that's
what Tom Girardi tried to do.
That's what they all do. That's the oldest trick in the book.
Yeah, and guess what? It doesn't work for most judges, and it also doesn't work if you're trying to skip the line at Disneyland.
That's why Harvey Weinstein showed up in court in a walker.
They all do. No one wants to look like they did the crime they're accused of doing. They all want to look feeble. In the old days at Disneyland, same friend, by the way, used to have his wife go to the park and tell them that she had lupus so she could get a wheelchair and they could skip all the lines. Come to think of it, he had the world pretty figured out, didn't he? And we were so young. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. Well, we've been following the California Insurance Commissioner, Ricardo Lara, for quite some time on this program. We know that as a career politician who served in both houses of the state legislature with no background in insurance, he doesn't know anything about the job, and that has shown since he put his hand on the Bible.
I'm very kind of sketchy.
Now we have a situation where none of us could buy insurance. The companies are leaving the state, and if your home burned down in a fire, they don't want to give you anything, and he won't force them to. And you may ask the question, well, what is he spending his time doing if he's not doing his job? Well, we told you about all the junkets that we knew about that he went on. Many of them were paid for by the insurance industry. But now we're finding out about new junkets that Ricardo Lara is on. And this time, Randy, a lot of it was paid for by you, the taxpayers.
Including a South African safari. Actually, excuse me, a South African safari/spa.
What is he learning about insurance at an African safari? If a lion eats you, the life insurance doesn't pay out?
Could just be that he's taking the taxpayer for a ride. Once again, we go to ABC7 in the Bay with the incredible Stephanie Sierra as she unearths how much money you and I have been paying for Ricardo Lara to gallivant around the world under the guise of being the insurance commissioner. Buckle up, Buttercup. This is a good one.
That's right. These questions are ongoing. For more than 9 months, Commissioner Ricardo Lara has not identified the business purpose for most of the 48 trips he's taken across the country and all over the world. And as we found out, tens of thousands of taxpayer...
Wait, how many vacations is that a year that he is getting paid to take? He's only been in this job for 7 years. That's 7 a year.
He's on planes more often than flight attendants.
And as we found out, tens of thousands of taxpayer dollars was spent on five-star resorts that turned into extended trips, even including a safari.
Okay, let's just assume for a moment that you're trying to at least put in half an effort to justify why these trips are necessary. How could you justify a trip to an African safari and spa if you're the insurance commissioner of California?
Well, you know that nobody cares. You know that it doesn't matter where you go. How am I going to get in trouble for this? We've got a supermajority, and most people don't pay attention to this.
And he's right.
It's not like there was some watchdog in the legislature that was paying attention to this. This was unearthed by the local news in the Bay Area.
California's insurance commissioner is a frequent flyer, jet-setting cross-country, but mostly all over the world. A nice gig, right? Especially if taxpayers are picking up the tab, upgrading his flights to business and first class, expensing...
Wait, we're paying for this jackass to get free drinks on the plane?
How is that even legal?
What is the justification? He can't fit and coach?
Unreal.
Upgrading his flights to business and first class, expensing the five-star resort stays, chauffeurs, limo service, even a safari. The list goes on.
This is the Marie Antoinette of California.
You shouldn't be able to live like that unless you made the money yourself or obtained the money legally. You should not be able to live like that unless you're married to a 90-year-old with money.
Thousands of records obtained by 7 on Your Side Investigates show California's insurance commissioner Ricardo Lara racked up the receipts in recent years. At least 48 trips across the globe to virtually every dot you see on this map since he assumed office in 2019. And that may just be scratching the tarmac.
And by the way, imagine how much more travel it would have been if there wasn't COVID in the middle of that.
Oh, that's all he would have ever done.
As years of his travel records remain missing from the state.
That's the biggest concern. If you were to ask my office the purpose of government travel, we'd be able to identify every single benefit that came from these trips.
The vice chair of the Assembly Insurance Committee, Assembly member Greg Wallace, is pursuing a state audit into the matter. Following our investigation, But new documents obtained by 7 on Your Side show several of the trips paid for with taxpayer funds were 5 times more expensive than we previously reported.
5 times the amount. And we already added up how much we thought this cost. Turns out it's 5 times more.
So keep this in mind the next time they tell you about all of these insurance companies moving to California and how rates are actually going down and people are leaving the FAIR plan. They cook the books so that the books say whatever they want them to say, and then they accuse you of being a conspiracy theorist if you question them.
Is that in the best interest of the state?
Ray Asbell is a former HR manager for the state. He explains all departments are required to identify a clear, established need to travel. And for out-of-country trips, a mission-critical purpose is required. But after 9 months of questioning, the California Department of Insurance was unable to specify those reasons for a series of trips, including a 5-star hotel stay in New York City for Pride Fest that cost taxpayers more than $11,600. The 4-day trip listed no insurance-related meetings on his calendar, but a VIP rooftop event with DJ Kitty Glitter made the cut.
You know they had to keep that one in the story.
Okay. Can you imagine if you're a CHP officer and you are assigned to security for dignitaries, for elected officials, because these people all travel around with CHP officers. That's who provides their security. Imagine if you have to go on a trip to New York and you are acting like you're the entourage for this fool. No one knows who he is here, let alone in New York State. But you have to act like he's one of the Beatles because that's how he wants to be treated. And you have to be part of his entourage going into a rooftop party to see DJ Kitty Glitter. And then the wife texts you and goes, so what were you doing today? Well, you're never going to believe this one.
It's got to be a real interesting situation to be the CHP security detail for Ricardo Lara. Because what do you do when Ricardo Lara does the things that certain people know that Ricardo Lara does, and you're assigned to protect him?
Well, I want to see pictures of this rooftop party with DJ Kitty Glitter, because I guarantee you he was eating sushi off of some naked guy.
Private security was hired to escort him to various events on this trip, costing taxpayers more than $9,400. The department says it deferred
private security for Ricardo Lara to go to a DJ party in New York City. None of this had anything to do with this job, and you paid for his security.
Who in the world is going to shoot him there? Why do you need all of that security to go to a dance party?
The department says it defers to California Highway Patrol for any private security or transport travel expenses, adding CHP, not the commissioner, makes those decisions based on things like threat assessments.
Government, sure.
How much you want to bet if the CHP officers showed up to DJ Kitty Glitter, they all thought they were strippers?
Government job is government service. It's not supposed to be wealthy. You're not supposed to be in nice buildings in New York having these high-priced securities.
Former South Bay Assembly member Evan Lowe, an openly gay politician who worked closely with Lara, says the security costs may be warranted due to rising threats targeting the LGBTQ community.
Oh, just stop it.
Oh, my God. I would like to know what this guy spent on junkets when he was in the state legislature, because that sounds like a guilty conscience to me.
I've been subjected to them, too. Many do. It's not unique to me, but the unfortunate realities that we're dealt with in this political environment.
But he also recognizes there has to be accountability.
Having said that, I think you're also making a valid point, which is making sure that there's great justification on any public dollars that is being spent.
Right now, we have no justification for why Ricardo Lara went on all of these trips to 5-star resorts flying business class.
How do you make excuses for this guy? How is it that you do that? Where he's playing both sides on this one. Well, you know, he went and saw DJ Kitty Glitter, and you do know that kitties do like to scratch.
1 penny, 2 pennies, whatever it might be.
But we're not talking about pennies here. Records show Lara's 5-day trip to Bogota, Colombia for an LGBTI political leaders conference cost taxpayers more than $24,000. That's 5 times more than we previously reported.
$25,000 for this guy to go to Colombia.
This guy is treating being the insurance commissioner like his entire life is Showcase Showdown #1 on The Price is Right.
No insurance-related meetings listed on his calendar either, but receipts show more than $7,000 was spent on taxi fares.
What?
How do you spend $7,000 on taxis?
Well, you write on the expense form that it was for taxis, but really it was probably for something else that you can get in Colombia. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Play that back. Was that $7,000 for one trip or $7,000 for multiple trips?
No insurance-related meetings listed on his calendar either, but receipts show more than $7,000 was spent on taxi fares.
That's just for the 5-day trip to Bogota, Colombia. How did you spend $7,000 on taxis?
Okay, let's just try something out. You have your phone next to you?
Yes, I do.
Okay, can you open up Uber or Lyft or one of those rideshare apps?
Sure.
And find out what the cost would be to get a car from California to New York City. Because I bet you it would be less than $7,000.
All right, let's see if it'll actually let me do this. I want to go to New York, New York. And there's my drop-off location. Let's see. Schedule a ride. We're going to go black, right? Black SUV?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Why
select
not?
a black SUV.
You're the insurance commissioner.
Oh, it won't let you book a trip that big.
Oh. Yeah, I guess if you're trying to book an Uber from one side of the country to the other, they probably think you're fleeing charges.
Well, Johnny, we're just getting started here because this report into Ricardo Lara's behavior and his gallivanting around the world and spending thousands of dollars of your taxpayer money for nonsense is only 1/3 done.
I cannot believe that this guy's not in jail. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you're monitoring the mailbag.
Bob writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. Ricardo Lara, explorer extraordinaire. Indiana, I'm too sexy for my shirt Jones, looking for the elusive kitty glitter. Meow.
Listener Sean also wrote in and said, Johnny's neck brace story would make Bobby the Brain Heenan proud. Where do you think my friend learned it from? 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. If you'd like to listen to the podcast edition of this program, because let's say you missed yesterday's show or maybe Monday's show, Randy, that's easy to do.
All you got to do is search for The John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcasts. That could be the Apple Podcasts app, iHeart, Spotify. Search for The John Phillips Show. Hit subscribe. You could download all the episodes. You could do a Google on the YouTube. Get the free KABC app. Get the free KSFO app. Get the free KMJ Now app. We're on that station Saturdays at 2. So many different ways to listen live to this radio show from noon to 3 and download all the podcasts and listen on your own time. Go back and listen to all of our coverage of Ricardo Lara over the years, including when he said this.
I may be criticized and dragged through the mud for it and get my wig snatched, as the gay guys say.
Let's go back to Ricardo Lara.
Ricardo Lara, as we previously told you, thanks to the incredible reporting at ABC7 in the Bay, has been spending a whole lot of your money going around the world on quote-unquote business trips, although many of them have nothing to do with insurance. What we found out today, thanks to Stephanie Sierra and ABC7, is those trips cost a lot more than originally thought because he was hiring private security and spending $7,000 for taxis in Colombia. But also, He went on safari on our dime. Let's go back to ABC 7 in the Bay.
But receipts show more than $7,000 was spent on taxi fares.
Wait a second. Before we get back to the story, Dale just called in. Dale in Long Beach, you did some math for us?
Yeah, Randy. 5 days is 120 hours. If you spent $7,000 in 120 hours, you would have to spend $58.33 an hour. That's even when you're sleeping.
So we're thinking it might not have been for taxis?
Well, unless he had a huge entourage and he gave big tips in more way than one.
Well, here's the thing about hiring cars. In theory, if you're asking the state of California to pay for it, in theory, there's receipts for all of these things. Every time I go on an Uber, every time I get in a Lyft, I get an email with the receipt. So I'm not getting in a car where I'm not driving it and I'm hiring a driver without having some kind of, I don't know, written receipt available to me.
He paid in cash for everything?
Well, I don't think he paid in cash because I think he likes to get his points like everybody else. But what he hasn't done is provided these receipts to the local news or to the people who are supposed to oversee his office.
That should be against state law. That sounds like a crime.
When I travel on company business, I'm either asked to provide receipts if I pay with my own personal credit card or I pay with cash. They want receipts for everything that I buy. Every Uber, every Lyft, every airplane ticket, every meal, whatever the case may be. And if you're traveling with a manager, they have a company credit card and they use the company credit card for all of these things. Wouldn't you assume that the rules would be even stricter for the state?
You would think so. That should all be public record, subject to a FISA request.
Thank you for the call. Let's go back to Ricardo Lara.
And that's, by the way, exactly what Stephanie Sierra has been trying to do. And Ricardo Lara's office has been stonewalling these public records for 9 months now.
Turns out a private security firm accompanied him at the conference. Lowe is the CEO of the Victory Institute, an LGBTQ advocacy organization. He invited Lara on this trip.
What was accomplished on that trip?
Can't wait to hear this one.
Here's something I would like to know. If he hired private security, which means he didn't opt for the CHP, he went and hired a private security firm, I would like to know if that private security firm donates to his campaigns.
It's a good question.
I don't know the substance of what was discussed during that period of time, but the organization does convene a number of LGBT elected officials to talk about their experiences. What is it like serving? How do you deal with being a public official?
This is why critics ask, might a Zoom call be a cheaper alternative for an educational conference?
And
that's no fun.
Oh, no. Then you don't get the frequent flyer miles.
And I welcome these type of questions to be able to articulate that because, again, public dollars are that much more important.
But the commissioner has not articulated.
See, Evan Lowe knows just by doing this interview that people are sniffing around now, and they're going to find something.
Well, and here's what's funny. If this is what we're being charged with, if these are the official business trips, how many frequent flyer miles is he racking up and hotel points going on all of these trips where then he's taking his own private vacations too, using points that he earned off of these trips?
It is not that much of a leap in logic to think that in the last 7 years, the taxpayers of California helped get Ricardo Lara diamond status.
Well, just going over these trips that he's been on, he should be, I don't know, executive platinum at American Airlines. He should be diamond at Hilton. He should have the top status at just about every shop that he does business with.
But the commissioner has not articulated that answer. The security for just 2 of Lara's 2019 trips cost taxpayers more than $16,000. Those charges are in addition to a $260,000 contract Lara had with California Highway Patrol that year to provide protection services.
Wait, he spent $260,000 in 1 year on protection for him?
He is completely anonymous.
To provide
how many people inside the state of California know who he is? And then think about this. How many people in the United States outside the state of California know who he is? And then ask yourself the question, how many people in other countries know who he is? And the answer is 0. There is no practical reason for that man to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on security for these international junkets. It is strictly to feed his ego, because you know what happens. He shows up to these parties where he's got a posse of people around him, and they're all wearing the Ray-Ban sunglasses, and they all have the thing in their ear, and they're all wearing suits, and he looks like he's the president of some third world country. And so the seas just part, and he never has to wait in line. He never has to go through the front door. They always just say yes to him. Yes, Mr. Lara. Yes, Commissioner Lara. Right this way, Mr. Lara. That's what this is about. It's not just that he wants to go on all of these lavish vacations. He wants to be treated as a dignitary, as someone who is akin to a head of state while he's there.
Before we get back to the safari, we got some inside info here. Let's go to John in Long Beach. John, hello.
Gentlemen, good afternoon. I've called about this before. I've got a friend that works for the State Board of Insurance, and he's worked there close to 10 years. He's seen Lara twice, and he said that it's quite well known that most of the employees that work there absolutely loathe that guy and know that he's absolutely worthless and does nothing ever and he's told me about all the trips he goes on, and it's just kind of like a big joke. Well, I guess he's on another trip, but they can't stand him because he's worthless.
Well, it's hard to argue the opposite, because look at what's happened to the California insurance market on his watch, and look at how he's spending his time. And clearly what he's doing isn't helping the people of California.
That's about right. Thank you.
Thank you for the call.
To provide protection services. While travel is not uncommon for California's insurance commissioner, and prior commissioners have also traveled internationally, political analysts are raising questions about the frequency, cost, and lack of transparency with Lara's trips. For example, last November, Lara took a trip to Cape Town, South Africa for an international insurance conference. But the conference was only 2 days. Yet receipts show taxpayers paid for his entire 2.5-week stay at a luxury hotel.
Now that is criminal.
It's just an excuse to go on a vacation to a part of the world that he wants to see. And then he says, well, I'm here. Let's just stay for another 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks and stick the bill with taxpayers.
Records are still missing from this trip, but we can tell you his security detail alone cost taxpayers more than $33,000. And that's not including any of the miscellaneous bills, like expensive hiking equipment.
What?
We're on the hook to pay for his hiking equipment?
Needed some new poles.
What does that have to do with insurance?
Like expensive hiking equipment.
I'm having a hard time understanding why hiking poles are part of something that the state needs for insurance.
And taxpayers paid for a visit to the Big 5 Safari and Spa.
That's a thing.
Keep in mind, this is how your money is being spent when they say they don't have time to explain themselves on local media, and they don't have time to return the calls of fire victims.
And taxpayers paid for a visit to the Big 5 Safari and Spa.
How does that work? You're soaking in a tub while the lions walk around?
I guess.
It just doesn't make any sense.
That's a strong case that line has been crossed, because if we are spending taxpayer money on excursions that seem like it's a vacation, if people...
Seems like it literally was a vacation for 2 weeks.
You can find the most high-priced lawyer on planet Earth, and they cannot come up with an argument that I would believe that going on an African safari and spa trip is related to the California insurance market.
People are overstaying the business purpose of the trip.
To put that trip in perspective for you, we requested all the travel records of legislators on both state insurance committees, but receipts show a significant disparity. Let me show you what I mean. In one example involving Lisa Calderon, the Assembly Insurance Committee chair, she averaged roughly $19,000 annually over the past 5 years for all her taxpayer-funded travel. Now compare that to Commissioner Lara's CHP security detail exceeding $33,000 for just one trip.
And think about this for a second. The insurance commissioner can live wherever they want in the state of California. If you're a member of the legislature and you represent a district in Southern California, as Calderon does, you have to be on an airplane every single week. You have to be in your district, and you have to be in Sacramento. So in theory, if you're a member of the legislature, your travel budget should exceed the travel budget of the insurance commissioner for totally legitimate reasons.
Commissioner Lara and Assemblymember Calderon's role is not a direct comparison in scope of representation, but the department has not provided the travel records from previous commissioners, describing them as incomplete. In fact, Lara's staff provided a list of 5 international trips former Commissioner Dave Jones took during his tenure.
5 compared to 48?
It's not even comparable.
Compare that to at least 21 international trips Lara took.
So I don't think it passed the sniff test whatsoever.
Yet somehow this next trip passed the sniff test for the commissioner. It included a luxurious 10-day trip to Dubai, staying at a pricey 5-star resort.
What?
What's going on that's so important in Dubai?
We'll find out next, Johnny.
Let's go back to the report on California's insurance commissioner, Ricardo Lara's travels.
This is just incredible work from ABC7 in the Bay and Stephanie Sierra.
It included a luxurious 10-day trip to Dubai, staying at a pricey 5-star resort. The department says this was to participate in United Nations policy panels and insurance forums. And while his office has been unable to provide the receipts for his own costs, 7 on Your Side obtained records showing taxpayers paid more than $24,000 on the flights, pay, and luxury hotel accommodations just for his CHP security detail.
Wait, the security guys get to stay at the 5-star resorts as well? Gee, I wonder why they say yes to this.
Oh, I'm sure they're having a ball.
Which included hiring a limousine service and a personal chauffeur.
It's just cartoonishly ridiculous, isn't it?
The taxpayers of California are paying for Ricardo Lara's chauffeur in Dubai.
To put that in perspective, 7 on Your Side requested any security-related expenses billed to taxpayers for the insurance commissioners in Illinois, New York, Texas, and Florida from 2018 through June this year. Yet none of them produced any responsive records.
The people of the state.
Okay, so it's not just us with crooks.
Well, look, I doubt you'll be able to find anyone worse than this.
No, this is the most extreme example, but apparently most of Sacramento doesn't think this is a big problem.
The people of the state have the right to ask those questions.
The department says any personal excursions are paid for by the commissioner personally.
No, they're not.
You know, the more I listen to this, the more I realize what's going on here. He's termed out. He can't run for re-election. Everyone understands that the insurance market is melted down in California. I think the trade-off for being the guy that gets blamed for everything that's gone wrong in that industry is that he gets to go out living like Ellie Mae Clampett.
So we asked if that was the case for the 15 international trips listed in this report that are missing his own travel records. and we never got a straight answer.
To be clear, Commissioner Lara's total travel cost to taxpayers is likely much higher, given the department has failed to provide most, if not all, of his own expenses for many of these pricey trips, aside from just Cape Town, but also Scotland, Chile, Egypt, Costa Rica, Tokyo, Uruguay, France, Switzerland.
I'm in the wrong line of work.
This is just brazen theft.
But also
By the way, look, think about all these trips. This is just in the last 6.5 years.
But also Scotland, Chile, Egypt, Costa Rica, Tokyo, Uruguay, France, Switzerland, Singapore, Guatemala, Ireland, and 3 trips to Bermuda, despite our repeated attempts.
I think that
3 different trips to Bermuda.
And how many times has the legislature asked him to appear in front of the insurance committee, and he tells them that he's too busy to do that, and he sends an underling instead?
And let's see them actually care.
I think this would warrant a committee hearing to review this type of situation for the commissioner to come in and answer questions.
Why do you have this security? Is this security necessary? Is this price tag necessary?
Commissioner Lara was unavailable for an interview.
I'm shocked.
Surprise, surprise.
We repeatedly reached out for further comment to these findings. His office did not respond to most of the requested trips, but did send us the following statement addressing Lara's trip to Bogota. As the first openly gay person elected to lead a statewide office in California history, and one of the nation's
What
most...
does that have to do with anything? You notice what he does when he gets called out on this is he immediately goes to identity politics, insinuating that he's getting picked on because he's gay or he's getting picked on because he's Latino.
Well, you remember when John Garamendi was criticizing him, that's the first thing he went after.
That's the one thing they know how to do. And typically it works. Typically it shuts the press down. People stop the moment they're called racist or sexist or homophobic or whatever. And this is how they're able to behave this way. It's just unreal.